let's just start with the big question. Imposter syndrome, what is that? How do we explain that?
Yeah. So, imposter syndrome, simply put, is to experience feeling like a fraud. You feel as though at any moment, like you might be found out by other people that you are a fraud, like you don't know what you're doing and you got where you are just by sheer luck or by accident. You often
Hmm.
feel like you have no idea what you're doing, yet other people around you seem to have so much faith and confidence in you. There's a disconnect in the belief in your abilities of what you're actually able to do. And your abilities. So, like, that disconnect is really going on in your mind.
Hmm. And using the word fraud, what do we mean by it seems like a powerful word in terms of how we see ourselves. I mean, calling ourselves a fraud, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it is. And when it really boils down to is there's somewhere along the lines that we feel unworthy of what
Hmm.
we're trying to reach towards or work towards or what we're doing. So the feeling of fraud is we don't feel like we're worth it. We're not enough.
Hmm. But we know that usually we're more than enough. But
Right.
yeah, but this is due to some limited beliefs that we have about ourselves. Where maybe there's some fear behind all this, right?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of fear, and it could be fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of failure, and
Hmm.
it could have arose sometime when we were younger. Someone telling us that we were not good enough as kids, and that just subconsciously got stuck,
Yeah.
or a parent that was very critical, although well meaning because they wanted the
Hmm.
best for us. We misinterpreted that as not being good enough because we never like met the bar where they had raised it very high for us because they just wanted us to have the best, but we were never able to hit the target. So we
Hmm.
just felt like we were always falling short and internalized that as not being good enough as kids.
Yeah, that's yeah, and I've noticed a lot of times we talk with people with things like fear and this imposter syndrome. It always comes back to the childhood in some kind of way. That is something that we experience, or the way people talk to us, or the things that's said in our childhood. That's kind of where it all comes back to.
Yeah, it really does. There's always something in our childhood that was a misperception and then it gets planted. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Inside Out, but in the movie
Yeah.
Inside Out, the core memories that are stored in the brain in this movie, it's like a new core memory has been developed and then it's, stored for long term. And then that's a subconscious block that causes us this internal imposter syndrome later on that we keep coming back to and we don't consciously know that it's there, but it's subconscious, and it's that memory that we
Hmm.
keep coming back to every single time that makes us feel like we're unworthy. And it's always something in our childhood, and it doesn't have to relate necessarily to imposter syndrome. It could be issues with dating and
Yeah.
relationships and dating the wrong type of person every single time.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Had a thought here, but I kind of forgot it. But doesn't matter. Maybe it comes back to me. What is it that keep people stuck in this? I mean, we have to deal with the imposter syndrome, obviously, but that is maybe a bit of a struggle. So people kind of get stuck in this never-ending loop of just doing the same thing all over again and never getting out of it. What is it that causes that loop?
Yeah. So a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in the emotional states that are caused by overthinking, which, one of those overthinking is the imposter syndrome. And
Mhm.
the experience, as I said before, is feeling like we're not competent, even though people around us believe that we are. And the feelings, there's always feelings of fear, of judgment and success or failure. And that lack of worthiness gives us that repeating self doubt of who am I to be doing this? And that's the repetitive beliefs cause the emotions, and it just reinforces that belief even further. And it's just in a cycle that
Mhm.
causes us to get stuck. And so when we feel this fear, we want to feel safe. And so we do things to keep ourselves safe. And a lot of what we do to keep ourselves safe is staying in our comfort zone. So A lot of entrepreneurs, we will continue to get more education, more credentials, keep buying more courses, keep buying more shiny objects, and keep learning rather than going out and doing. Rather than
Hmm.
launching the thing, we'll keep buying more stuff to look better, have more initials behind our name, or trying to become an expert instead of just doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. The question I have for you actually was that the way to kind of deal with this. A lot of people need to go back to childhood, and there's a lot of things that we don't remember, like you just said. But that's kind of where your hypnosis part comes in, I would believe, because that's kind of where you can start digging up things that they don't remember or didn't even know that was there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, to have better emotional well being and release the imposter syndrome, we need to acknowledge and become aware of this. And, like you said, we may not be aware of all of this. And that's why they call them blind spots, because
Hmm.
if we could see them, they wouldn't be called blind spots.
That
So,
wouldn't be an issue.
right? So, we can identify the emotion, we can drill down and get to it using the emotion into our childhood, because that emotion stays the same. Like, we felt that way when we were a child, when that memory was originally created, and that emotion keeps coming back up over and over and over again. And it's called emotional resonance. Just like,
Hmm.
music frequency has a resonance, the same is with emotional frequency. It originated in childhood and it keeps coming back up, like a ripple effect.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
we can go back down and find the root cause and unplant that misperception when it was planted originally.
Hmm. Do you deal with a lot of people, being skeptical with the whole hypnosis thing? I must assume that that's happened to you as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I have a video in my podcast that helps educate individuals on hypnosis.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you deal with, or do you get people coming to you being a little bit, I guess they're holding it back a little bit because they don't really actually believe in this, but somehow still get managed to get the breakthroughs?
So we overcome all of the fears and skepticism before we start working together, because I want you to have the best experience possible. And so that's why I give you my video. I make sure I answer all of your questions, address any fears that you may have, because a lot of it is all fear based when
Mm,
people are skeptical. They don't know or understand anything about hypnosis. And what they do know is from the movies, which is all, I don't have the right words for it. It's exaggerated.
mhm.
It's for entertainment, and the
Right. Yeah.
entertainment value is to either scare you, be a comedy or some kind of action thriller, and it's exaggerated for those reasons.
Hmm. Yeah. We
Yeah.
all seen people get on stage and cluck like a chicken or something like
Right. Yeah,
that.
I even addressed that in the video that I created about it.
Yeah.
So hypnosis is consensual, 100%. So if
Mm,
you are not the type of person who wants to cluck like a chicken, I can't make you cluck like a chicken. It's not going to happen.
okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what does the process look like when you're dealing with your clients and going through the whole hypnosis? I mean, it's one thing to kind of figure this out and going deep with it, but how do you help them kind of get past the fears and the judgments that we have?
Yeah. So I like to look at it as, um, going back to my metaphor about unplanting a seed. So if you think about weeds that are growing during the summer, there are several ways you can get rid of a weed, and not all of them are the same. You can cut a weed on the surface, but the entire root network is still there and it'll
Hmm.
continue to grow. You can pull the weed and some of the roots are still there and it'll grow back. You can spray the weed with weed killer and you'll get longer lasting results, up to a year, as the weed killer results say, but it's temporary. And next year, the roots, because the roots are still there underneath, the weeds will grow back next year. The only
Hmm.
way to get rid of the entire root network is, like I said, to go back and to unplant the seed, which is what we do in hypnosis. And then there
Hmm.
are no roots.
Okay. So can you explain a little bit more about that? What you mean by unplanting the seed? I mean, what do you
Yeah.
put into that?
So we do hypnosis together and we just go back to following that emotion back to the original memory in which it occurred. And then we unplant that seed from there. We take away that misperception and
Mhm.
correct that misperception. We change nothing because we cannot change history, but we will change the misperception into the correct information. So, like I said, if your parent was overbearing and critical, but they just wanted the best for you, and you know that as an adult, we get to tell your younger self the information that you know now
Mhm.
and correct that misperception. And so the younger you gets to, grow up as you are. So as the younger self changes, you change, and we remove that negative belief. And then we are also going to give you new beliefs so that you are able to see yourself as the amazing, accomplished, capable person that everyone else around you sees. We want you to be able to
Mhm.
see yourself in that same perception as everyone else sees you.